Good morning. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd day of Sivan. We continue on the Shaar Hayichud VeHaemuna, the 7th chapter in this part of the Tanya. We spoke about the two levels of unity of Hashem. Yichud Ila'a, Yichud Tata, the higher level of unity and the lower level of unity. And we're going to talk about today that after we understand that Hashem is in every part in this world, and everything is totally nullified in Hashem's existence, we also can come to an understanding that nothing in this world or anywhere contributed anything to Hashem. And this is something that is really not easy to understand, because even if we say, if you talk about in human terms, anything that a person has makes him, he grows with things that he has, whether it's possessions or knowledge, when you know things. When you grow in age, every day adds something to you. But when we're talking about Hashem, we say Hashem creates everything. And there's so many things, so many billions and billions of things that change every single day, and yet Hashem is not changed. It doesn't change God and doesn't add anything to God. This is what he is going to explain here today, in today's lesson. So let's look inside. Vehine, b'mashen isbaer, yuvan, mashekasuv ani avaye loy shanisi. He says, from the foregoing exposition, now one will be able to understand the verse, I, Avaya, God, have not changed. Meaning, based on what we explained, that there is the oneness of Hashem, the unity of Hashem, as we call it the Yichud Ila'a, that everything is nullified into Hashem. The true existence is Hashem's existence. So he says, "She'ein shum shinui klal k'mo she'oye levadoi koidem brias olam, kach hu levadoi achar shenivra." There is no change in him at all. Just as he was alone before the creation of the world, so is he alone after it was created. There is no change at all in Hashem. V'zeu she'oimrim Atahu achale nivra ilam atahu chulu. And this explains, this is what we say every day by davening in the morning. We say, Atahu achale nivra ilam. You were the same before the world was created, and you are the same after the world was created. That anything that happened in this creation of this world did not affect and did not change Hashem in any way. Without any change in his being. But not only that, but it says also veloy bedaito, nor even in his knowledge. And this is something we need to understand. What does it mean in his knowledge? That the fact that he knows, he creates so many things, and now he knows so many things. And we know knowledge, knowing something, adds. You know, you grow with your knowledge. And yet by Hashem we say he did not change, not in his essence and not even in his knowledge. And he explains why. Because then God's knowledge is not like human knowledge. It's a different type of knowledge. It can be a dias atzmoi, yoideya kol hanivroim. Because by Hashem, by knowing himself, he knows all created things. She'akel mimenu ubatel b'metzius atzlai. Since all derived from him and are nullified in relation to him. As the Maimonides of blessed memory stated, Shehu hayedea v'hu hayedua v'hu hadeya atzmoi akel echad. It says that he is the knower, he is the known, and he is the knowledge itself. All are one. And this we Alter Rebbe explained in the earlier chapters, that the difference by a person, by a human being, we have the person, we have the intellect that a person possesses, and then we have the subject that the person studies, the person understands, the knowledge that he gains. So, but a person, it's the three different parts, three different things. But when we're talking about Hashem, it is not a separate thing. It is not a separate thing by Hashem. God knows us because he is us. So everything is one with Hashem. And this is something that is really not something we can understand properly. As the Rambam continues and says, this, Maimonides goes on to say, is beyond the capacity of the mouth to express. Yes, of course, we can express it, we can say it, but what does it mean, what we say? Beyond the capacity of the ear to hear. And beyond the capacity of the heart of mind of man to apprehend it clearly. It's interesting. He says here to apprehend it clearly, but somewhat we can understand it. One interesting example I heard from Rabbi Manis Friedman about that you can use a metaphor to understand this concept a little bit. The idea that certain things does not affect you. So it says when you have ability to run, to walk in a certain direction. When you walk, how much can you walk? Every day. Some people can walk more, some people can walk less. That is something that you're limited with. You're limited with, but the way, how much you can walk. So in the walking, the ability of walking has its limitations. Has its limitations, how much strength you have, how much you can walk. But let's think about walking. If you walk, you have ability of walking to the east, and you have ability of walking to the west, and you have ability to the south and to the north, all four directions. So when we're saying, is there any limits in this way? Is there a limit how much you can walk? In which direction you can walk? No. If there would be, theoretically speaking, there will be 5 directions, you'll be able to walk in 5 directions. So the fact that you are able to walk in different directions, is this something that is an additional power of the walking? Or this is something which is part of the walking, it's part of you. So it's not an additional thing. You can walk, like we say, you can walk for an hour, you can walk for 2 hours until you get tired. But here, the idea of walking in different directions, it's part of the walking. So this is brings just to give us an understanding, an example of to understand the concept that Hashem has everything, creates everything, and by creating everything, it is not a separate thing from him, it's part of him. So going back to the text, continues the Alter Rebbe. So this is something, it says that the Rambam, the Maimonides, is beyond apprehension. We cannot understand it clearly. Ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu mohusoi ve'atzmusoi ve'daitoi akol echad mamish mikol tzad upina. Because the Holy One, blessed be He, His essence and being and His knowledge are all absolutely one from every side and angle. B'chol derech yichud, and in every form of unity. Ve'ein daitoi davar noisaf al ma'usoi ve'atzmusoi. Now His knowledge is not an additional thing to His essence and being, k'moishu b'nefesh adam, as it is in a mortal soul. Shedaitoi davar noisaf al ma'usa umurkav ba. Mortal soul, the knowledge is added to His essence and is compounded with it. When you know something, you can become connected with what you know. But there are two separate things that connect. This is a composite. Because when a person studies the subject and knows it, his rational soul was already within him before he studied and knew it. And afterwards, after he studied it, this knowledge was added to his soul. So therefore, man's knowledge is a supplement to his intrinsic being. Through it, he becomes aware of something he did not know before. So this is true with knowledge. And the same thing is also true with time. And so day after day, days speak, meaning instruct a person. You become a day older, a day wiser, and a multitude of years teach wisdom. However, it says, "Ve'ein zu achdus pshuta ela merkeves." This is not a simple unity. It's not a perfect unity. It is a composite. There's something, a unity that composite from different things together. You gain other things that you didn't have before. But when we're talking about Hashem, the Holy One, blessed be He, He, however, is a perfect unity without any composition or an element of plurality at all. And therefore, says the Alter Rebbe, since His unity is perfect and uncompounded, one cannot say that His knowledge is something apart from Him. For that would imply, heaven forbid, a composite. That His knowledge is super added to His essence, affecting a change within Him. That we cannot say about Hashem. But rather it says, Al kochoch mahusoi ve'atzmusoi ve'daitoi akol dovo echad mamish. One must conclude that His essence and being and knowledge are all absolutely one. Beli shum hakava, without any composition. Ulefichach, and therefore, says the Alter Rebbe, Keshem she'i efshar l'shum nivra ba'olam lahasig mahusa b'yre ve'atzmusoi. Therefore, just as it is impossible for any created being, any creature in the world, to comprehend the essence of the Creator and His being, kach I efshar lahasig mahus daitoi. So it is impossible to comprehend the essence of His knowledge. The essence of the knowledge of Hashem, which is one with God Himself, also we cannot comprehend. What can we do? We can believe. רק להאמין באמונה שהיא למעלה מהשכל וההשגה. שהקדוש ברוך הוא יחיד ומיוחד. We can only believe. It is possible only to believe with a faith that transcends intellect and comprehension, that the Holy One, blessed be He, is one and unique. So again, this concept of the belief is something which is depending on how much you know. The more you know, the deeper you understand, the greater the level of your belief would be. So this is hu v'daito ya'akal echad mamish. And he and his knowledge are all absolutely one. U'biyedias atzmoi makir v'yedeya kol hanimtzoim elyonim v'tachtonim. And knowing himself, he perceives and knows all the higher and the lower beings. The beings that are in the higher and the lower worlds. And to the point that even the smallest thing, ad shilshul katan shebayam, including even a small worm in the sea, vadiatush katan sheiye betaber oretz, and a minute mosquito that may be found in the center of the earth. Ein davar ne'ela mimeno. There is nothing concealed from him. Hashem is involved in every detail, and yet, in the same time, it doesn't add anything to him. This knowledge does not add multiplicity and composition to him. Since it is merely a knowledge of himself. And his being and his knowledge are all one. Okay? And that, so the Alter Rebbe continues that indeed, if you have a problem understanding it, don't worry, you're not alone. You're good. You are in good company. And that's what Alter Rebbe continues. Says, in as much as this form of knowledge is very difficult to envisage, to imagine, picture in our mind. This is why the prophet Isaiah therefore said, for as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. And my thoughts than your thoughts. There is likewise another verse that says, can you, by intellectual searching, find God? And there's another verse that says, have you eyes of flesh, and do you see as man sees? What is it? What is this verse telling you? That the way Hashem sees things is different than how humans see things. A man sees and knows everything with a knowledge that is external to himself, which is something that is added to him by his knowledge. Whereas the Holy One, blessed be He, knows all by knowing Himself. This is the end of the words of the Maimonides. And he says that the Rebbe says, look there into the laws of Yesod HaTorah, and the Kabbalistic sages, the sages of the Kabbalah, have agreed with the Rambam, as explained in Pardes, Ramak Zechron Levacha of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero of blessed memory. Because there were some sages that disagreed with this statement of the Rambam. And Maimonides that says that Hu Amada, he's the knowledge and he's the knower, and he's the knowing. And some sages said, they challenged this and they said that this is, how could you even give a term of knowledge to Hashem? God is above. It is limiting. It is picturing God in a certain. How could you ascribe to God the idea of knowledge? He's above knowledge. He's above everything. And Alter Rebbe explains that the Kabbalistic sages agreed with the Rambam, and they explained that it depends what level of godliness we're talking about. That this is true in a level the way God lowered himself and brought the godly energy into the level where it has in a way the shape of knowledge. But Hashem himself obviously is above all of this, as we learned in length in the previous chapters. So this is the end of today's lesson, and be sure to join us again tomorrow morning as we continue to dig in this very deep explanation of the chapter 7 in Shaar Hayichud VeHaemuna. Any questions, we can take now questions. Don't forget to share, invite your friends to join, whether live or to join listening to the YouTube video or on Facebook. All the best.